How's it going, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of Crypto Clout, the YouTube show where you subscribe for the latest and greatest updates and what's hot in the cryptocurrency world. Of course, Holochain is pretty hot right now, so figure we'll be talking about it. Got a lot of requests to make this video about Holochain, and I think that it's an appropriate time, especially with the talk that we've been seeing in the public space regarding blockchain and of course all these big tech companies, how they've been sort of overlapping with Wall Street, and it's a very exciting time to be paying attention to these things, especially with the Facebook cryptocurrency right around the corner, and definitely an interesting time as far as how we're seeing Wall Street basically in Silicon Valley having that fundamental overlap, which is really something to be said. I think we're getting a vision into the future here, because one of the things that I'll start off with as sort of a side note is the importance of data. It's almost becoming realistically a huge poll that's got a lot to do with how these different cryptos are going to be. Basically, I mean, you think about Facebook and what they're doing with data already. Just imagine what they'll do when they have the crypto and all these different things, which is, I think, one of the underlying reasons why stuff like Holochain has been on the tip of people's tongues lately, just because as we're seeing the internet naturally evolving as it's one to do. Just anybody who's read the Holochain white paper, I think, gets an idea of how the public has this yearning, this desire to have control over the internet, their own personal data and all these different things. And I think Holochain is really a representation of that paradigm shift. And of course, each of us wants to have control over how and with whom we interact in order to evolve and thrive. Our communities must support everyone's uniqueness, yet today our online relationships are dominated by centralized corporate websites. Holochain enables distributed web with their user autonomy built directly into its architecture and protocol, and I think that it's interesting, just from my perspective, the amount of research that I've done with regard to Holochain. It's interesting to see just how this is sort of a branch into the future. I mean, it's sort of like people have a decision to make right now, in regards to where these things are actually going to naturally evolve and progress. And I think that Holochain really stands to be one of those interesting cryptos that has the potential to really moon in this cycle as things continue to progress. And we've been seeing, of course, the Bitcoin value now at 7,905. It's still basically having trouble crossing that $8,000 range, but I'm not worried so much about the day-to-day value of Bitcoin as much as I've been paying attention to this number right here, the market cap. I think 253 is going to seem pretty low in the future when we're in that $1 billion. Once we've sort of crossed that next threshold into the next stage, where we're going to be having a lot more of the general public talking about and discussing these variables, in particular with Facebook crypto and all these other things really coming into their own. Dutch billionaire, yet another victim of crypto ads, angry with Facebook. So earlier this week, John DeMol launched a lawsuit against Twitter over crypto ads using his image without permission. He claims that customers have lost as much as 1.7 million euros due to the ads, and his reputation was damaged. And definitely interesting. Definitely something that we'll be keeping an eye on, just to see how a lot of these things have been sort of overlapping. It's almost like we can't look at one area of the news without basically having to talk about where tech is headed. Holochain got rejected at the 1 week level at 28 sats and is retesting the 24 sat level. Buying volume is picking up, and retest of 28 SAT is likely for low tech coin. I like to keep it simple with, so this is interesting. Obviously with those under a penny cryptocurrencies, there's always going to be, that sort of risk reward dynamic. But I think Holochain is pretty hot when we want to talk about the future of the internet and really where these things stand to move from here. Definitely interesting, when we want to talk about scalability, when we want to talk about efficiency, we want to talk about, the topic of, global consensus. I think that these are all definitely interesting to see. Airbnb, Uber for hosting, 40 plus, of course, HAPPS in development, Hollow ports coming, and of course, it's interesting to see, with that Mozilla, of course, on the horizon there too. So when we want to really get into the meat and bones of, the whole purpose here, it's interesting to see, enables trading from Trader's Wallet by implementing, escrow accounts, atomic swaps. So I think that when we're looking at this sort of conversation that's developing around the banks, I know that a lot of people are definitely having that conversation now where they're essentially trying to choose between the better of two evils, and essentially whether they want to put their hands up and basically be surrendering control over to the putting their trust into the banks and so forth, or if they're willing to trust the tech side of things to manage their finances and so forth. So it's definitely interesting to see, and I think that when we're talking about next generations of blockchain and really looking into the future, I think that it's interesting to see how Holochain has been able to leverage this sort of next generation tech, really take a step ahead of the curve where it's really necessary now. I think as things are taking this important turn, and I really think a lot of these decisions will be made by the end of 2019, and we'll get a really fundamental idea of where the future is actually going to be headed in that regard. Of course, this is interesting too. Just a little funny thing, crypto and blackjack, for those of who look beyond the ebb and flow of the share prices. The cryptocurrency industry is one of the most innovative and potentially world-changing revelations of the last decade. Most people know the term cryptocurrency and Bitcoin as buzzwords from the infamous soaring of Bitcoin's share price in 2017, but the actual idea behind the foundations of Bitcoin cryptocurrency and blockchain was to defeat untrustworthy central banks, as written by creator Satoshi Nakamoto in 2009. The financial system has proven to misuse, of course, yada yada. But blackjack blurred the lines between online and in-person play. And of course, this is definitely something that I'm going to be keeping in the back of my mind. We'll be returning back to, but I think that it's interesting to see and just notice the sort of overlap, especially with people who disregard the sort of Facebook crypto. And it's sort of just like another shitty cryptocurrency that they'll be trying to push for people to use. But then again, like I say, if I'm interested in one thing that's going to be profiting off of these things, and I'm going to be paying attention to it just the same as anybody else. But I think that it's definitely interesting. See Ripple doing its thing, kicks off South America expansion with Brazil launch. All these different things are overlapping, whether you like them or not. And it is interesting to see just how Bitcoin has been, front and center in the conversation as well. And of course, it'll be interesting to see where these things, will happen as, the future continues. Family offices own Bitcoin, governments own Bitcoin, private pensions, public pensions own Bitcoin. If you don't think institution in the world eventually going to own Bitcoin, you're fooling yourself. I think that's also sort of the tweet of the day. But yeah, all that being said, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you guys are interested in connecting with us, that's at CryptoTuber on Twitter. Always interested in hearing what your opinions are. Of course, remember, this video is for entertainment, educational purposes only. Of course, this video is not financial advice. This video is for, like I said, just opinion and all that. But yeah, make sure that you guys comment down below, letting us know what you think about Holochain. Now, overall, I am pretty excited to just see how Holochain is going to be faring up, especially with what we were talking about, the future of data and all these different things, Wall Street and of course Silicon Valley, sort of that overlap. Now I want to know what you guys think about that, so definitely comment down below and let us know. Always interested in the conversations that happen in the comments section. So yeah, all that being said, hope you guys have enjoyed this video. See you guys in the next one. Have a good one.